Eat like a king who's on a budget. 3 tasty options, fries, drink, and nuggets. All for $5. Wait, that can't be right. Just confirm that that's the real price. BK, have it your way.
This episode of Leather Brains is brought to you by Burger King, the only place where you can get flame grilled perfection and call it research for your next food coma. Whether you're celebrating a fantasy win or spiraling after your quarterback throws 3 picks, Burger King's got your back. Grab yourself a Whopper. Tell them Leather Brains sent you. And remember, if it's not flame grilled, it's just sadness between buns. Ladies and gentlemen, your host Slapdog, and welcome into Leather Brains. I am joined today by Alan Casanova Castro and Scotty Del Rey. I'd first like to start out the show by apologizing. We didn't do a show last week, which was quite sad because there was a lot to discuss there. But the 2/3 of the team were traveling, so we were unable to do a show last week. But we are back, baby, and we are so excited to talk about NFL. Gentlemen, did we get the opportunity to really just be couch potatoes this weekend and really consume everything that is the NFL?
Ooh, you want us to be honest about that question?
Yeah, should we be honest?
I don't know. But
I asked the question. You guys can lie if you want, and nobody's going to be none the wiser.
Well, I feel like now I ruined the lie, so I'm going to tell the truth. I had a really hard time watching football this weekend. A lot going on. We got a baby on the way. We're in crunch time, less than a month out. I was running all over the place, but I did get an opportunity to have Red Zone playing on my phone the whole day. So I was listening, I was tuning in, I was watching the scores. And then today I went back and watched a lot of the recaps. So I feel plugged in. I feel like I'm caught up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alan, do you share that same sentiment?
No, I told you guys I was in the fantasy football golf scramble yesterday. It was actually really well done. It was really cool. So you had to pick a fantasy team, then you had to go play, and then the combination gave you how you finished in the scramble. So it was kind of fun. So I actually kind of was paying attention to NFL, but really just the guys we drafted before we went out and played. So it was kind of a unique spin on the day. So I didn't get to yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
we won.
good.
We got gold jackets, and everybody was pissed at us as per usual in any golf scramble. Whoever wins.
They just assumed you cheated the whole day.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did you cheat? Because you assume
so
if you take first in a golf scramble, I assume.
So one of the things you got to do is on the par fives, if you spent you donated $100, your team got to move up to 150 yards out on par fives. So you started from 150. So we were on the green putting for double eagle. So it's
albatross. You guys
nice.
got some albatross? Albatross?
Yeah, we had one putted in, and then I chipped one in on one hole. So it was a good day.
Good. Well, we're gonna talk about the NFL. So it sounds like I think between the three of us, we're gonna salvage what Week 8 was in the NFL, and we're gonna talk about it. So let's start out with the news here. This was disgusting. I don't recommend that and I'm going to start out with this because it is really gross. I do not recommend, if anybody is not aware of the Cam Skattebo injury, please save yourself the heartache and the pain and the disgust of what that injury was. But he has an ankle injury. To put it in layman's terms, his ankle was in the opposite direction of where everybody's foot is supposed to be going. He left the field in an air cast and had surgery, I believe, today, actually. So it's safe to say his season is over. And that, to me, really freaking sucks for the Giants because he was the other half of this identity that the Giants had found this season with him and Jackson Dart. Tyrone Tracy is back in the mix. He is going to be the guy for the rest of the season. But I got to ask you guys this. Cam Skattebo, he was not one of those guys that was drafted early as a rookie going into this year. He was kind of an afterthought when you have names like Travion Henderson and Omarion Hampton and Aston Genty, of course. So in your guys' mind, I mean, he was a 3rd-round draft pick, I believe. Is he safe going into next year? Is he firmly cemented himself as a running back upon his return, or where's your mentality towards Cam Skattebo going into next season?
I mean, it all depends on the injury. Obviously, you hope that players come back and they look the same as they did prior to an injury like this. But assuming that that's the case, and he's young enough that there's not really a reason to think he won't. The thing that makes Cam Skattebo amazing, and the reason why he's overlooked by a lot of scouts, is his natural athleticism is not on par with a lot of the highest caliber athletes in the NFL. It's all attitude for him, and it's all, you get him in the locker room. He's a locker room guy. He fundamentally changes the culture of an organization, and it's sort of like, it reminds me of Isaiah Pacheco. We're going to talk about the Chiefs game coming up tonight, but it reminds me of when Isaiah Pacheco was drafted to the Chiefs. It's just like an attitude change. When he's on the field, you see it looks different. And I don't think that's going anywhere. I think they really appreciate that in the Jackson Dart era. They're going for this new version of the Giants, and Skattebo is a big part of that.
Yeah. The first thing I thought of was because he posted this weekend that he had gotten a new grill. I don't know if you saw that. He got like
teeth grill or like teeth. Okay. Yeah. I thought you were talking about like a
he got that
George
and
Foreman.
he got new earrings and he was like all decked out. He's like the unofficial mascot of the Giants. So I think whenever he does actually return, he's just gonna go like in whatever form he is, they're just gonna put him back out there because they're like, well, this is better than what we were doing before. So you be our mascot and run around and slam your head into a wall.
Do you think him or Pacheco will be quicker to CTE? Because they both run with
I think
some
Pacheco
ferocity.
already has it like to full blown because he doesn't see any of the holes. He just kind of like runs.
Yeah, he
it's
looks
like a
way
wind-up
different
toy.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a wind up toy when you have like wood floors and just kind of goes in a direction and it like slams into something. You're like, yeah, you have no idea what's going on. That's how Pacheco is, but at least Skattebo can navigate and run around and do that stuff. I think Pacheco has more progressed CTE, so I would say.
Yeah, but you also have to imagine that Pacheco's only getting CTE on the football field. Skattebo is getting CTE every moment of his life because he's running into everything he can find.
You think he got into the hospital and just started bashing his head on the wall?
100%. He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean there are no defenders here? What do you mean there's no one trying to keep me from getting out of the room? And then he's just going crazy. Like that's just his mindset.
Yeah.
I
saw somebody. Oh,
go ahead, Al.
I was just gonna say, I when he was posting that video of him getting the grill, somebody commented and said, the funniest thing ever is imagining him being in control of his own finances. Like, now that he has all this money, like, where do you think where does his brain go to be like, I should go do this? I thought that was
he just doesn't strike me as the type that should be wearing a grill and earrings.
Wow, why do you say that?
Yeah, why do you say that?
Yeah, I think it's his height. I think it's his height. It's his stature. He's a small little stocky guy. Like I don't envision him wearing those things.
It sucks that it's an ankle, but at least it's just an ankle. It's not like he has to like go and do the full blown knee surgery and recovery and like trusting his knee. And so I think of all things, like it sucks that he's out, but he should be able to come back.
You think I'm kind of this mentality, and I'm curious to know if you guys share this. The Giants, I think we could label them as frisky. We could label them as fun. We could label them as you don't know on any given Sunday if they're going to win or lose their game. And I still think that partially holds true. I think Jackson Dart is I think he's a good quarterback. And I think that with the lack of talent that they have on the field, Jackson Dart is overperforming in my expectations for what they have as far as the talent surrounding him. With Skattebo out, though, that really starts to make me believe in them just a little bit less, and I don't know if you guys feel that same way or not.
Yeah, it's really devastating. I have never cared about the Giants, and when I saw this injury, it's like heartbreaking. Like because they were really building towards something, and you can feel the sea change, you can feel the culture change, and it was like finally, like someone is getting something going there. And bam, it's just taken away. So, Jackson Dart seems like a really good player. It seems like he's going to be able to make game day fun again for a lot of those fans. But yeah, it's just tough to imagine this team, having the same level of juice that they did with Skattebo in the lineup.
Sure. Well, I don't want to focus too much on this because I know we're going to talk about that game specifically. So we'll come back to the Giants. I quickly want to mention Tyler Lockett, the aged veteran, was released by the Titans. He had requested a release, and he is now expected to sign with the Raiders. This doesn't move the pendulum for me at all for the Raiders. No. I don't think this is much. But he is a veteran wide receiver in a wide receiver room that is lacking talent across the board. So maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't do much for me. Do much for me.
It's a big nothing sandwich.
What is doing something for me, though, is Jonathan Taylor. And I'm glad that you can't see the lower half of my body because I am fully torqued right now talking about Jonathan Taylor. He's on pace to match LaDainian Tomlinson's record of 31 touchdowns after logging his fourth game with at least 3 touchdowns this year. This man is on a tear. In, the last 2 years, when Jonathan Taylor came into the league as a rookie, he looked absolutely electric. He got hurt, and then we just really hadn't seen his expectations really hadn't met where we were expecting him to be over the last 2 years. This year, it's all bets are off. I mean, the way that he is playing right now, he is a first round in fantasy next year. He might be the 101. Like, he looks absolutely freaking electric. So, just wanted to share that tidbit for the LaDainian Tomlinson thing because that's a huge accomplishment. So we'll see how this trend continues.
Oh, by the way, when LaDainian Tomlinson broke that record, he won the MVP. FYI.
You think Jonathan Taylor should be in the MVP conversation right now?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, but
I think him and Daniel Jones.
It's a quarterback. It's a quarterback award.
Because Saquon should have won it last year.
Yeah,
should have.
They gave like a pity MVP to Josh Allen just to keep his name afloat.
Wow.
Like that.
You're not showing any sort of bias there whatsoever, are you?
Well, I mean, regardless of my fandom or not, like that's what it felt like. It was almost just like this. Oh, come on. Let's give him one.
You mentioned Josh Allen. He now has the most games in NFL history in which he has thrown for at least one touchdown and rushed for at least one touchdown. And he took this record from Cam Newton. So we can't sleep on Josh Allen. We can't say he shouldn't be in the MVP conversation.
No, that last year he shouldn't have been, in my opinion. Like he played really well, but like if we're giving it as who's the best player that year, there's no way you spin that to say Josh Allen was the best player.
Well, I mean, everyone would have said Saquon Barkley. I think. I
think we were saying Saquon Barkley.
He took the league by storm. That's the thing, and that's
totally,
when going back to Jonathan Taylor. Right? That's one thing that even though they've obviously started really hot and they're arguably the best team in the NFL right now, you still don't really see that storyline with Jonathan Taylor because the story is about Daniel Jones. So there's just no world in which, like, if they continue this tear, there's no way
it's so stupid.
Jonathan Taylor wins it.
Well, we're going to talk about the Colts, and this is going to be a part of that conversation, so I don't want to show our hand too early. But so let's shelve this. The last piece of news here that I have is Myles Garrett. He now holds the NFL record for most sacks logged before the age of 30. He has 112.5 sacks after getting 5 sacks against the Patriots. So I've said this, as soon as J.J. Watt retired, Myles Garrett, he is my new favorite NFL player. The man is a scary human being. And the fact that he signed with the Browns and is still there makes me just sad and disheartened because that talent is being wasted on a poverty franchise. But still, nonetheless, cool to see for Myles Garrett because after he got his 5 sacks in that game, they actually pulled him for the rest of the game because it was such a disgusting game. But it's crazy that I'll shelve it because we're going to come back to it because there's a lot more storyline there that I'd like to discuss. So let's just jump into the games because that's where a lot of the meat and potatoes is. We'll start here. Chargers beat the piss out of the Vikings 37-10. The storyline here, gentlemen, is Carson Wentz. He was on the verge of tears, as Scotty put it. Hated his life, and now he
did cry.
Was there actual physical tears, dude? Can we confirm that?
I never saw the tears rolling, but his eyes looked like
they were watery. They were wet.
There.
Yeah.
They were there.
Yeah,
they were wet. He's on IR, gentlemen. He is on IR. He is done for the season. He is undergoing surgery, so no more Carson Wentz. And the funny thing is, and I was buying this narrative a little bit at the start, and the longer the season has progressed, the more I think it's true. J.J. McCarthy was not hurt that bad. J.J. McCarthy was not hurt nearly as... He might have had a minor little hiccup, and they extrapolated that. I'm of the belief that J.J. McCarthy could have been rolled out on a weekly basis, and the Vikings did not want to do that because they wanted to try and put themselves in a window to compete. And they felt like Carson Wentz was the better quarterback for that. They were claiming that J.J. McCarthy's ankle was hurt. There was a play, and I think it was just this last week. There was a play where somebody was getting tackled out of bounds, and J.J. McCarthy had to leap over the player. His ankle looked just fucking fine. I'm not buying the fact that he was not severely hurt. Like they were like, he's got to sit there. This was we can't admit that we made a mistake in not signing Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones. I'm riding that train.
I thought it when it happened. I was like, this is the biggest cop out ever to say he's injured because I think they realized he wasn't ready.
No way.
And now they're not. Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We all saw what he did for a game and what, 2 games or the game and a half that he played.
Yeah,
it wasn't good.
He played like a rookie who's never played in the NFL before, which is to be expected. And that's exactly what they did expect. It's not anything crazy. The reason he wasn't playing, he may or may not have been severely injured. I don't disagree with the fact that maybe they exaggerated the injury to keep him off the field. But the reason they did that is because this offensive line was hit by a bus and they had none of their starters in for several weeks, and they did not want their brand new quarterback to have to just make it work behind a second string offensive line full of players that they pulled off the street. That's why Carson Wentz was in the game.
So why did they not? My question, if you're going to follow that narrative, when the O-line got healthy, why did they not throw him back in there?
Because I don't think he's totally healthy. He was partially injured. They just said, let's pull him out. Carson Wentz is an expendable quarterback. So we can get him out there until he needs surgery, and then we'll go ahead and put our guy back in once our offensive line is put back together a little bit.
I'm not saying that I agree with... I'm still riding the narrative that I don't... I think he might have had a minor ankle injury. I'm not going to say that he didn't. Enough for him not to play, I don't think that was the case. And I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have rolled J.J. McCarthy out because... much like you just said, he was playing like a rookie because for all intents and purposes, this is his rookie season. Let him play. Let him develop. We're not expecting the Vikings to come out and light the world on fire. I think Vikings fans were based on how they finished last season. But this is a new quarterback. This is somebody who needs the time to develop. I agree with the mentality that they should roll him out here. But the fact that they didn't, that to me, I truly do think it was not nearly as bad of an injury as they wanted to play it out to be, and they were hiding behind the fact that they didn't want to admit that. Call it a mistake, whatever you want to call it. I think he was healthy enough to be playing, and they didn't want to roll him out there because they wanted to try and compete. And I think this is the best of both worlds because now that Carson Wentz is injured, you don't have a choice. You have to roll J.J. McCarthy out. If Carson Wentz didn't get injured in this game, the NFL media would be saying, at what point do you roll J.J. McCarthy out, given the score, given the box score, given how they finished? That would have been the narrative that we were all going to be riding going into this episode, and that would have been the entire media narrative about J.J. McCarthy is, okay, Carson Wentz doesn't look great. When do you roll him out?
Well, if we're going to throw conspiracy theories around, the best conspiracy theory is that Carson Wentz is fine, but they told him, pretend like you're injured, cry a little bit, we're going to take you out, because now the expectations are so low. Dude, we just saw how that offensive line performed with Carson Wentz back there. Now if JJ sucks, everyone's like, oh, what's he supposed to do? They made Carson Wentz cry. Like, what are we supposed to do? So it was just all a facade.
I like all this. I like these conspiracies.
I think,
I mean, a lot. Listen, whether or not these are true, I think slaps where you're going is 100% accurate, because if you think about it, all these head coaches and GMs are 100% tied to the quarterback. The success, the future, the promise, doing well, not doing well. It's all about the quarterback. Like, that's the whole reason we thought Dable was going down, and it's like, they're not winning a ton of games either, but now it's changed because Dart, now you're like, well, maybe there's something there. He looked kind of good. We were doing something. So it's funny because, there is a vested interest from the GM to the head coach to be like, yeah, let's like go ahead and concoct this whole story so we can like save our asses for a year. Like, how does this weave in? And this scenario plays in great because then, JJ was hurt. Now Wentz is hurt. Now what do you want us to do? Come on, guys, everybody's hurt. And so I like this. Do you think are you just spinning this for the sake of stirring the pot, or do you actually believe that some of this might be true? I think there's some truth to there. Cause like if you, let's say, JJ was like Mahomes level or one of these top tier quarterbacks, they would roll him out there because even at that level, or the promise of him playing at that level, or the execution at that level on one ankle is still better than anything they had. So obviously with him, like with a minor ankle injury and him sucking, was like, shut that down. Like, let's just not even go there, because he's not even good enough to like work himself away from an O-line or like know the calls or know the reads. Like, there had to have been a lot there with a decrepit O-line that Wentz was like, at least he can see some of the defense, or he's seen some of that. Whereas JJ McCarthy just would have gotten ran over for the last 6-7 weeks. Sure. That's my thought. Well, I think you're more right than wrong. That's my stance.
Okay. Perfect. I love to hear that, because we're never gonna know. We're not. I mean, this is going to be fodder and hearsay until the end of time. But I said it because I believe that I am right. We're talking about teams that suck or players that suck, and historically on this show, this entire season, we've talked about how bad the Dolphins have sucked, and that wasn't the case in this game. The Dolphins beat the Falcons 34-10, and if we're talking about sucking, the Falcons sure did a lot of it on Sunday.
Nice.
Now, I will say this. I have been a firm supporter that I don't think the Falcons are a great team because I think it's their coaching. But you got to give a little bit of an asterisk here, and I'm giving a little bit of grace because it was not Michael Penix. He was out, so this was Kirk O'Chains. Drake London was out in this game. This was still not great, though. And you know what, Scotty? Kyle Pitts, no matter what, he had a good day.
Amen.
He did have a good day.
Thank you for saying that.
But, I wanted to give you your flowers.
Scotty was hanging on by a thread. He needed to hear that. Now he's back.
I really did.
Somebody had to do something because they were missing a lot of their playmakers. I still expected more. For Raheem Morris to be a defensive coordinator or defensive-minded coach, this defense to allow the Dolphins, who we're talking about an entire disaster in an organization blowing up. That has been the conversation that has been had the last few weeks about the Dolphins and the fact that Mike McCarthy still has his job and when do they bench Tua? And, there's a lot of storyline there of this Dolphins team is not good. For the Falcons to allow 34 points, that kind of solidifies my or my belief, rather, that this coaching staff is not a good coaching staff because the Dolphins have been getting blown out and shut down. I get it. You didn't have your quarterback. You didn't have your wide receiver one, so I am giving a little bit of grace. Still not a great look in my mind, and I don't know if that's fair of me, and you guys can correct me if you guys have any other feelings on that, but that's where my concern still is the fact that you let 34 points up from the defensive side of the ball.
I think, as much as we look at each side of the football as being kind of like their own thing, and they are, right? There's complementary football is obviously very important. Like if your offense is sustaining drives, it obviously keeps your defense on the sideline. They're not having to withstand so much from the other team. So you want to play complementary. Like if you don't have a good defense, then you try to sustain drives. If you do, you can you want to score. If they're not very good, you want to score. And the fact that the Falcons went 2-11 on third down is a problem. They weren't able to possess the ball. They weren't able to sustain drive. They only had one turnover. It's not like, Kirk threw, 3 picks and, had multiple fumbles. And it was just well, what are you supposed to do? He's throwing pick sixes. They just could not stay on the field. They had 11 total first downs in the whole game. And it's that's just not a recipe for success. So what is your defense supposed to do? They're out there the whole time. So I will give them some, a little bit of a pass because the offense literally did nothing for them. They were just out there the whole game. But I agree with you. The Falcons are a little bit of a mystery, and even beating the Bills last week, I'm very unsure what to do with either team now. Okay, are the Bills really not good? Because they haven't really beaten anybody, and they got beat by some teams that are kind of middling. And now the Falcons, you're well, are you actually really that's the great thing about this NFL season so far to me, and this game kind of encapsulates that, is really actually don't have any idea because all these teams each week you're I don't fucking know. I would have thought the Falcons were going to win big even without, Penix in.
Same.
Because Miami's so bad. And then you watch the game, you're what the fuck happened? How does this happen? And then you're well, are the Dolphins actually good? Because the Falcons just beat the Bills. So you're trying to do this transitive property thing the whole year. And we're now at a point in time where I don't think any of it works. I think that's where we're at in this NFL season is none of the transitive properties work at all.
Yeah,
you can't
100%.
say anything.
Definitely the motto of this season is any given Sunday. And we say that every year, but that is especially true this year, where it's just the team that you think is the worst team in the NFL could beat the team that you think is the best team in the NFL literally any week. It's crazy. The biggest news or the biggest headline of this game is that Tua decided to wear a visor and he just remembered how to play football. It's crazy. He put on his visor, and all of a sudden, he threw a touchdown in the first quarter of this game for the first time in 16 games. This is the first touchdown pass that he's had in 16 games in the first quarter.
What the hell is that?
He put on the visor, bro.
Is it a Google Glass visor? Is it
does it read the defense for him?
It's telling them where to go. It's highlighting people.
It's counter CTE technology. You just stick it right into your head.
Oh, that's sick. It's counterbalancing his CT. That's dope.
Skattebo's going to need one of those very quickly. Well, in the last thing here on this, I keep harping on the Falcons. The Falcons have a top 5 passing defense in the NFL. That is where they've been trending this year. And for them to do that, that's really concerning for me. And
the Falcons have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. The two most recent losses that they've had were a blowout loss to the Dolphins and a blowout loss to the Panthers. Which is crazy.
But then they beat the Bills.
Yeah,
which
I know. Their floor is so low and their ceiling is so high.
And they almost beat the Bucks week 1.
Yeah.
Mayfield had to come. So it's who knows?
So okay, and that's the crux of this entire that transitive property you were talking about, Alan. Where do the Falcons finish? Is 8-9 a realistic, is that where we see this? That's where I had this team going into the season, was 8-9, 9-8, kind of right in that realm. I'm sure you guys are pulling up the schedule at this point.
I am looking.
I am too.
Where do the Falcons finish?
They got a mixed bag. It's more tough than it is not. They have the Patriots and Colts coming up right away back to back.
Those are 2 losses.
And then they got the Bucks again. They have the Rams again. But they do have a run where they go Panthers, Saints, Jets. So sandwiched in between there, I can see them getting to maybe I'm gonna say 6 wins. 7 wins.
Total?
I'm gonna say 7 wins. I'm gonna say they get to 7. That's where that's if I
so
were
should
to,
they move on from the coaching staff, which is what I had said to start the season, or before the season even started. When you look at the talent, and I get it, right? Their defense should be better. Their defense is rated a top 5 passing defense in the NFL. It certainly didn't show it here in this game. We know the talent that is on this roster from the offensive side of the ball, and they're not clicking. I get it. You didn't have Michael Penix. You didn't have Drake London. I don't care. You have Bijan Robinson. You have Kyle Pitts, if you want to throw him in the conversation, Scotty. There is talent on this team. And the fact that they are not they're winning games that they don't have any business winning, namely the Bills, but then they're losing games that they really should be winning. That, to me, is coaching, and that's really the problem. This is his 2nd year as a coach. The clock is ticking, and I've said this multiple weeks now, but are you guys still firmly, or maybe not firmly, but are you still of the belief that give this coaching staff more time, or do you turn it over, go find somebody that is competent, and let them try and build something better than whatever this is?
Are you asking what we would do or what we think they will do?
Both.
I guess I'm not sure. It's tough to know what I would do without knowing the dynamic of the way the coach interacts with the players and all that stuff. I feel like that if I was a GM or if I was a GM or an owner, that would be the biggest impact on me. Schedule or record on the field and how everything plays out is a big part of it. But more important than anything is the culture that you build. So it depends. Do I think they will fire Morris and move on from this coaching staff? No, I don't think they'll do that this season. I think they'll have at least one more. It'll be at least partially through next season. If next season turns into a total dumpster fire within the first 10 weeks, then they'll let him go midseason. But I don't think they're going to do it before then with Penix now on the roster.
But should they? If given the information that we have at our disposal, do you think they should move on from him at the end of the season?
No. I think going back to what I said about quarterbacks and young and promising, and you kind of tie him with Penix. Penix wasn't in this game. They can write that off. We didn't have him. Our game plan was off, and you can say coaching or whatever, and that's fine. I would hear that, but I think because this is actually Penix's first full year, and he's going in and out. I think they will, especially if they hit that if they beat the teams they're supposed to beat. Nobody's going to fault them if they lose to the Bucks, the Colts, but if they can turn around and beat some of these other teams that they're supposed to beat or better than, then I think that'll save their job. Now, if they lose that stretch of games where it's Panthers, Saints, and they start on this wild tailspin, I would say probably. Now they're probably looking to make a move.
Okay. Let's move to the next game here. Ravens 30, Bears 16. Gentlemen, we are a Bears podcast this year. We started that at the beginning of the season. It's been a roller coaster as a Bears podcast. We were really buying into this. Ben Johnson is going to change this. Things are going to look great. They kind of like the Falcons in a lot of respects, have a lot of weapons around them. The question at hand is Caleb Williams, and is Ben Johnson able to develop him? We saw flashes in a pan last year. We saw that the talent is there in spurts, but can we get that consistency? It didn't show up in this game. It did in the first 2 drives, but thereafter it kind of stalled out, resulted in mostly field goals. Not a great look for the Bears, gentlemen. This was a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, the Bears are. I want it to click so bad. It just feels like it feels like it's right on the edge of clicking. And they're edging. The whole Bears organization is edging.
They're edging
because they're right there, but it's just not happening. And when you watch Caleb Williams play, it's 3 plays in a row. Okay, he looks pretty good, looks pretty competent. And then there's one play where he looks like he forgot how to do the game. He just runs around, he's flailing his arms around. He just looks like he doesn't feel comfortable at all in the offense. And that's happening less often than obviously did with the previous coaching staff, but it's still happening. And now we're far enough into the season that it's that should not be happening. It's not passing the eye test for me. And it makes me just not have faith. This Bears team is not bad. It's not a bad team, even with the results that we've seen so far this season. And they're capable of winning a lot of games. But when you watch it, it's just like it does not instill confidence that they're going to put it together on a consistent basis. And it's really frustrating for even me, who's only a pseudo Bears fan this season.
Yeah, I think my read on this, if you look in the box score of this game, because I didn't sit down and watch this one, but you look at it and it looks very even. They had about similar total yards. They had similar plays ran, similar like yards per play. And it was really like, if you look for like glaring differences, it was like penalties, just some execution pieces. And I think that kind of goes to like what Scotty's saying too is, and I don't know if this is a Ben Johnson thing, as being like a young head coach where you have to oversee more and like the discipline of a team. Like, this is still a gelling team. This is a team that has some newer pieces to it. And obviously is another new head coach for this organization. It still looks to me like total work in progress. And I think a lot of people were the hopes and dreams of like, oh, he's just going to come save this, because if we just have a good offense, we'll be good. And I think, I don't know, I'm definitely like, Caleb Williams is 100% trending towards not being a very good NFL quarterback. And that's kind of frustrating because you just see it time and time again. He just looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't look very confident in things he's doing. And then when he does things, it's like the complete opposite of what he should be doing. And so I don't know. Do
you think we should reframe it? And I'm not saying I believe this, but I'm going to pose this question to you guys. Do you think maybe perhaps we should reframe our mentality towards Caleb Williams as far as this is his first year as well? Is that maybe going too far, giving him too much grace? Because whether it's true or not, we heard a lot of the chatter about the Eberflus regime and the lack of development that was clear. Once again, whether that's true or not, we're not going to know, but they weren't spending time with Caleb in the film room. They weren't coaching him properly. They weren't showing him the things that he should be doing. Do you think it's more fair that we say this is his rookie campaign this year, or is that giving too much grace to Caleb Williams?
I think that it's somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere in the middle of like full expectations are on and it's his rookie season. I mean, it's I don't expect it to look perfect, but I do expect it to look better than it's looked, at least on a more consistent basis. And that's the thing is like football's a messy game. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to look stupid sometimes, but we need more consistency from this offense. We need to see them look like they can put things together on a regular basis. And even if some drives flare out and they have to kick a field goal or they don't make a fourth down conversion every now and again, it's like, it is what it is, but it just has to look more complete. And right now it's still sort of, depending on the game, depending on the drive, it still looks like week one for this team. And that's a real problem when you have expectations like they did going into the season.
Do you think we put too much pressure on Ben Johnson as far as, a lot of when he came over from the Lions, we saw the Lions were one of the more explosive, fun teams to watch in the NFL, and a lot of those were trick plays and getting Penei Sewell the ball in space and just these wild things that you don't see traditional NFL teams doing. However, you think about who the Lions are, the roster that the Lions have, the veteran leadership that they have, and that comes with the experience. Ben Johnson now going over to the Bears, he's working with a very young group of guys who aren't experienced in the NFL, who don't have a lot of time played in the NFL. Could you maybe attribute to some, that as well as, he's still trying to teach these guys and coach these guys how to play at this level? Did we maybe put too much expectations on Ben Johnson year one?
I definitely think we had too much expectations on Ben Johnson. I mean, I've said this over and over again that I still think the jury's out on whether or not he's even a good coach. I lean toward yes. I think his personality is yes, and I have confidence that he will be a competent coach. But dubbing him as the savior of the Bears franchise, which has sucked for decades, it's like, okay, we saw him have success with the best roster in the NFL. Like he has to prove it. He has to prove it. And so many people just assumed they were ready to appoint him as the greatest head coach in history.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Is we've seen a ton of there's enough evidence on both sides that like. There's obviously a camp of you could be a great coordinator and not be a good head coach. We've seen head coaches, we've seen coordinators turn head coach and then go back to coordinators. And Spags is one. Like Spags is probably now a Hall of Fame coach, and he was a head coach at one point. And sometimes it just does not work out, and maybe you're just better suited to be a coordinator. I think to me it also goes to like the foundation that was set. Like Campbell obviously had a foundation set, and like players are bought in, and like kind of makes it easy to work when you have like accountability and stuff set. It's different when you go into a locker room where I'm fairly positive there was no accountability. I'm fairly positive there was none of that leadership or foundation set. So he's trying to do that. So it's like, as much as we want him to come in and be a wizard, like, these are some growing pains. I think the signal for me is like, does Caleb Williams develop week over week? Like, do we see some improvements, or do we see something getting better with him? Because I like, from an eye test standpoint, it all looks the same to me. It's just a different coach.
Keep trade cut. Jackson Dart, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence.
That's a
Are you going to make a trade in our dynasty league?
No. I'm just saying. I'm saying, like, if you had, who are you keeping? Who are you going to trade away? And who would you cut between these three?
I am keeping. This one's tough.
I'm
cutting Caleb Williams.
I think I'm also cutting Caleb Williams, and I think I'm trading Jackson Dart, not because he's not awesome, but because it seems like you could get a lot for him right now with all the hype.
Yeah, that's actually probably a good one, because I think it's not because Dart isn't good, but it's probably more likely that he ends up like
Lower
being a mid-low.
So you think in the grand scheme of things, Trevor Lawrence will be a better quarterback than Jackson Dart?
I think Trevor Lawrence is a quarterback that can be successful in more situations than what Jackson Dart is likely going to be. I think Jackson Dart is lightning in a bottle right now. And I think he's a good quarterback, but I think that Trevor Lawrence has the physical capability to be elite if he's in the right situation. Yeah. And I don't know that I could see that with Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart is like a Baker Mayfield. Like he can pull a team up from his bootstraps and be scrappy and be awesome. I think Trevor Lawrence could be like a if you put him on the Eagles, I think they could still be a Super Bowl winning team. I don't know if I would say that with Jackson Dart.
Where I think Dart's ceiling's higher, but I could also see his floor being lower.
That's what I was going to say, and
I
think
that's my problem with Dart is like I could also see a path where it's like you could also probably suck.
I'll take the ceiling play though, and that's why I agree. I'm cutting Caleb Williams, I'm keeping Jackson Dart, and I'm trading Trevor Lawrence because we've seen, it is lightning in a bottle. Now maybe that stays, and I would rather take the high ceiling of what if versus we all know who Trevor Lawrence is at this point, and I haven't been impressed, and I have been on this show. For
fantasy purposes, I agree with you. For real life purposes, I
would say even real life purposes. I wasn't even talking. I know that was kind of a fantasy-esque question, but I mean even real life purposes. Like if I was starting a franchise tomorrow and I had the choice between those three, I think I would take Jackson Dart in the small window that we've seen him play versus Caleb Williams, and also knowing what Trevor Lawrence is, and that's that the situation is going to change over time, and that's been every quarterback is their situation changes year over year. They have different talent, they have different offensive line, they have different coordinators. Trevor Lawrence has had that every single year of his career, and it hasn't changed who he is as a player. As far as have I seen that high ceiling of play? I've seen it more with Jackson Dart in a small window than I have throughout Trevor Lawrence's entire career.
I don't know if I agree. I think Trevor Lawrence's ceiling, when he is on, he looks like an NFL quarterback that could be the leader that a team needs to take them over the hump. I agree with you that he's been overall very disappointing, and I don't have a ton of faith in him. But I think Jackson Dart is more likely to be a middling to lower middle tier quarterback for the remainder of his career. I think that's more likely to be the case. But it's perfectly likely that I'm wrong about that, and he's awesome forever. And I hope that that's the case because it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Dart then to match what Trevor Lawrence has done is go win a playoff game.
Yeah,
sure. But is that going to happen this year?
Or ever? Who knows?
Who knows? That's the game that we play here. Let's pivot the conversation. We were talking about Ben Johnson. He was the offensive coordinator for the Lions. Let's talk about the defensive coordinator for the Lions, who is now the Jets head coach, Aaron Glenn. The Jets win this game 39-38 against the Bengals. This game had everything. It had a resurgence of Breece Hall. It had a quarterback of Breece Hall. Justin Fields was not even supposed to play in this game. Tyrod Taylor was supposed to be the starter, and then right before the game, we found out that he was injured, and it was going to be Justin Fields. So that perhaps when all the pressure is off of Justin Fields and he doesn't have anything to prove, maybe he can come in and actually win a game. I mean, I had the Jets losing this game. I had the Bengals winning this game, and I had the Bengals winning this game pretty handily, and they did not. But it was a fun game. It was a fun game to say the least. It was back and forth. The Jets really honestly didn't have any business winning this game, and they did.
What in back-to-back weeks we've had the Broncos scored 30 in a quarter last week, and the Jets scored 23 in a quarter this week, and you're like, what is going on with these teams like melting down at the end of the game? I think the Bengals. This game was just. This is a weird game, but this is not shocking. I think for the one takeaway for me is like it must be fucking hard to be a Bengals fan the last few years because you have the highest of highs, you finally get to the Super Bowl, you have all this success, and then it's just been nope, hurt, injury, nope, we suck, nope, defense blows. Here we go. Now we're injured again. It's like this is just very frustrating because it's a very talented team. But I mean, shout out to the Jets. I think this just encapsulates where the Bengals are right now as a team. They're now just.
Did you see Justin Fields post presser?
Yeah,
yes.
It was kind of odd. He said he cried in a closet.
Yeah, he was crying in a closet and he was talking to his mom.
Did you say that out loud?
He did. I would.
I don't know if you want to say that out loud.
You definitely don't say that out loud as an NFL quarterback who is supposed to be the leader of men on your team.
Yeah,
because you have no chance. Yeah, this is like the Dan Campbell approach, where it's like if I just cry in front of everybody, they're going to respect me for some reason. But it works for Dan Campbell because he's massive, and Justin Fields is you're Justin Fields.
And I say this, and I get it. Like I'm okay with dudes crying, but I'm just saying like in your profession where the whole thing is about like mental toughness and being prepared, and it's like. Yeah, I was crying in a closet, but I'm having like you were what? Can we back up to what you just said? You were having a mental breakdown, but you made it happen. Like, what are we doing right now?
Well, it's the same thing with Wentz. When Wentz was looking teary-eyed, and I know he was injured and all this stuff. I don't want to bag on him too much, but it's when you look over, you're having a tough game, like it's just not going well for your team, and you look over and you see your quarterback just having a mental breakdown. There is no confidence that's instilled in you because that's supposed to be your leader. When Justin Fields steps behind the podium, I was like, I was crying. Like, I don't know. I thought we were all going to suck forever and nothing was ever going to get better, and it's just depressing. Like, okay, what kind of confidence is that going to instill in the rest of your team? Like, no, you absolutely should not say that out loud, ever.
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, I think the reason he was crying was because he knew his career was over. Like that. I mean, this was the last semblance of a revival that was going to be Justin Fields. And Scotty, I know you said you thought he was going to look great this season or have his best season of his career. That hadn't happened.
No.
And this game was okay. But I mean, throughout
this
game
he got
was
benched.
Bad.
This game was bad for the vast majority of it, and then they found out a way. They figured out a way.
They found out Breece Hall can play football.
Yeah, well, they figured out a way to take advantage of the Bengals' just atrocious defense, which they've had for a couple of years now. And yeah, I mean, if the Jets are going to figure it out against anybody, it's going to be in the fourth quarter against this Bengals defense. I mean, that's really not all that surprising that it happened that way.
Yeah,
okay,
there's one thing I was going to say real quick. Just one. I looked it up. The average length of an NFL quarterback career is like 4.5 years. So he's like right at that. So if there's any solace to Justin Fields, it's like, hey man, you're doing about like what most guys do. So you're fine. You're good. You're good.
You're about average.
You're good to go.
Last question here about the Jets and about Breece Hall. Is in your mind he's on the last year of his contract. They have not signed him. It's looking like he's probably not going to be there next year. Do the Jets trade him by the trade deadline and just move on and take their picks? Is that
they should if they're smart, but we know.
Do you think so we all agree that they should. Do you think they will?
No.
Trying to bet on whether or not the Jets do the smart thing is
I know, that's what I'm saying. My guess is they're going to ask for way too much, which they should. I mean, Breece is really good, but I think they're trying to hit a home run, like let's get everything back, with one trade. And it's like, I don't think that's it. I think they should. I don't know if they get a deal done because I don't know. Because they're like contenders are going to be asking. And I know that's a lot of the reports coming from NFL camps. It's like a lot of the contenders are asking. And I bet you that asking price is very high, especially at the running back position where it turns over pretty frequently.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of the contenders already have established running backs.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about, the Bills, they've got James Cook, and we'll talk about that in just one moment. I mean, who else are the contenders? The Chiefs. That would be interesting, but schematically, I don't think Breece Hall really fits that scheme.
Well, and the Chiefs have other needs. As that team has some other things they got to address before. Like again, the running back's the luxury thing. Like if you have it and you're good to go, that's great. Like
you want to throw the Colts in the conversation as a contender because right now I think I would be interested in it. But they have a running back.
They don't need one. Yeah, they don't.
No, I think a lot of those contending teams really have that running back position filled. So
And
it's
teams
kind of
that
an
need
interesting
running backs also probably need a lot of other
Cardinals.
shit.
Hello, I'll take him.
They probably
Bengals.
also need other shit though.
The first trade that jumps out to me, and I don't know what the cap space situation is the Chargers. With the injuries that they've had so far, and they're trying to build back their season with a hot start that they had. Go out and get Breece Hall. Like, go pay somebody. I don't know. I think that absolutely people should be trading for him. I think that he should be off this Jets team. I think that one of the things that jumped into my head was how embarrassing it was with Saquon moving on. And it's like, okay, they probably are looking at that and like, well, we actually have a good player here. Do we want to get rid of our one good player? And the difference there is that they're starting Justin Fields and they very clearly have no quarterback solution and they have to figure that out. And it's like, okay, you might as well, stack all your chips in the draft and figure it out. Like you're not ever going to have success unless you figure out that problem, and you have to get rid of your stars to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think now if you're going to do it, if you're going to trade for him, now's the time, because the clock ticks on these running backs. And
Sure.
Breece Hall is a couple years younger than James Cook is even. So theoretically, you have there's still a big window that you can use him in. So
and he's proven his talent before, so it's not like
he's really good. So
it's just he's on a really bad team.
I think my guess is the Jets fuck this all up and ask for way too much, and nobody trades for him.
Potentially, and I kind of been reading in the background about how maybe they keep him throughout the rest of the season, and then they'll get a compository pick if he goes to another team next year.
Like a compensation.
So
pick.
I think that might be the route that they go as well, and which sucks because I would like to free Breece Hall.
Fun Breece Hall fact: he was born in Omaha.
What? I didn't know that either.
He was born in Omaha. He went to high school in Wichita, but he was born in Omaha.
Damn it!
There you go. He's probably
There's
way
your nugget.
younger than all of us. Now that I think about it,
that is a cool little nugget.
Matter.
I didn't know that. Well, we were talking about James Cook. The Bills they won this game 40-9 against the Panthers, and this game was James Cook. That's it. Like It wasn't Josh Allen playing hero ball. They didn't need Josh Allen to play hero ball against this Panthers team. But James Cook, it's crazy to me how they signed James Cook to a 4-year deal, and then he can just be absent for games. He can be a non-factor in games. In other games, he is the entirety of the team. There's got to be a better balance than this.
Yeah.
In this game, it worked. But you see other games where he is just a non-factor. He is not utilized at all. I just don't understand. I think there's a little bit of an identity crisis still brewing with the Bills. I think very much they want Josh Allen to be the pass-first hero. I can do everything, chuck it deep all over the place. And whether it's Josh Allen's inability with the talent he has to accomplish that, or if it's their confidence or the schemes that they're drawing up. But I did the math, or I was kind of looking through the notes. The 3 games that James Cook has rushed for under 100 yards this season was the Falcons, the Patriots, and the Ravens. And all 3 they should have lost, and 2 they did lose. So this is very much and I know Scotty put in the notes, it's just James Cook. That's the offense right now. If James Cook can run, and if he's getting over 100 yards and he's moving the sticks with his legs, that's the Bills. And if he's not doing that, and it's Josh Allen having to throw, even if he throws for 300 yards, they're probably going to lose, which is a weird thing to say out loud, but that's just how this team is constructed. And if you go look at the stats of this game, Josh Allen threw for 163 yards. He threw it 19 times. Well, there's a question.
He didn't have to do much. And so it was okay, what does that say about your team? So why are you having him throw so much? And even
I don't
the 2
know if
rushing
you can read in the
touchdowns
tea leaves on that though. Because it's the Panthers, and they won 40-9, and so in the event
that's why I
this
extrapolated it to the season, because even the Falcons, who we just saw what happened to the Falcons, James Cook didn't rush for 100 yards. They didn't feed him enough. They weren't moving the ball with him enough. If you go back and watch that game, it was Josh Allen trying to convert and do everything with his arm, and it didn't work. So there's some truth, I feel behind this narrative that's brewing with the Bills right now. And I think the MVP of this offense right now, or the most important piece of this offense right now, is James Cook.
Well, and that was going to be my question that I don't know if you or I didn't put this question on here. So anybody that wants to come and slapdog, this was not a question that I had pulled from my small, tiny brain. Is James Cook more important than Josh Allen at this point in time?
I don't think so still. I think James Cook's obviously really, really good. There's no doubt about that. But if Josh Allen's not on this team, it's hard to find James Cook rushing for over 100 yards in any game, because the reason that he is capable of doing that, the reason he has the space to do that is because teams respect Josh Allen and what Josh Allen has demonstrated himself to be over his career in the NFL. So, it's one of those things that because Josh Allen is so talented and everybody knows it, and this is a guy who just won the MVP, and you just have to respect him from a defensive perspective, and that is going to give James Cook more space than he would have on another team, and that's just true. So you can't really take one without the other. It's not that simple of a question, I don't think.
I think he's a focal point of the team. I think due to the lack of weapons that they have, like he has really cemented himself as a focal point in this team. But I tend to agree with you. You can't have one without the other because Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and teams have to respect that.
As talented as James Cook is, he's not Saquon Barkley. He's not Christian McCaffrey. Like, he's not doing this on his own. I think he needs Josh Allen to have these performances.
Okay, perfect. Let's take a quick ad break here, and we'll keep this train rolling.
This combo meal's got combinations. Make this thing your own creation. Entree, drink, and choice of sides. Oh, and it's free to swap fries. BK, have it your way.
Gentlemen, Leather Brains is fueled by pure chaos and sometimes a double bacon king. That's right. Shout out to Burger King for keeping our cholesterol high and our spirits higher. Skip the post-game breakdown and hit the drive-thru instead. A large fry won't fix your fantasy team, but it'll make you forget that you drafted Kadarius Toney. Thank you, Burger King, for keeping the lights on. We genuinely appreciate it. Have to give a shout-out to our sponsors.
Can you refer to him as Super Bowl winning Kadarius Toney? Please.
Is that like a fantasy football joke? Because who was drafting Kadarius Toney? Is that like
somebody should? I bet if we went and looked, I bet he's rostered somewhere.
I think he's like 2% rostered.
Oh, he's definitely
got him. Somebody's got him somewhere. Gentlemen, we were talking about you mentioned Christian McCaffrey and how he is James Cook is not Christian McCaffrey. Where the hell was Christian McCaffrey in this game? Because the Texans beat the 49ers 26-15, and CMC only rushed for 25 yards. What the hell? What happened to Christian McCaffrey? I had the 49ers winning this game. The Texans have kind of looked deflated, dilapidated. CJ Stroud hasn't had enough time to make any decisions because his offensive line is so bad. I really thought, the 49ers have limped their way through the entire season thus far, but they were doing it with success. And I figured the Texans are having a really mediocre season. I thought even with the second-string 49ers team across the board, they still might be able to get this done, and it didn't happen here. And really, throughout the entirety of this season, it has been Christian McCaffrey is the focal point of making sure that this team is succeeding. Didn't happen in this one, and I'm really scratching my head as to what the heck happened. Can one of you help me, please?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Here's some wisdom for defensive coordinators coming up. If you can hold Christian McCaffrey to 25 yards, you'll win. That's it. That's all you got to do. So just play to stop Christian McCaffrey. That's all you got to do. It's crazy that it took this team this long to figure it out. Really, the truth is that Mac Jones has been playing out of his mind in his time as the backup, and in this game, he kind of looked like the Mac Jones we all knew. And that's a big difference maker because if defenses are allowed to key in on CMC, and they don't have to respect Mac Jones in the passing game at all, there's just not a lot they can do right now with the state of the team as it is.
Yeah, I think the 49ers were on borrowed time. This is one of those for weeks, you're like, how are they doing this? How are they doing this? And then this game happened, you're like, okay, now we get it. Like, I think this is what people were expecting this team to look like with all those injuries. And it's like one person's fault. It's just like, I don't know what is happening in San Francisco where it seems like every other year, we're talking about like half their team is just injured. It's luck. Is it the training staff? Is it the strength staff? Is it things they do? I have no idea, but it is odd. But this game was just symbolic of like where the 49ers should have probably been for the last few weeks.
Agreed. And I'm not going to argue that. It was crazy that they were limping along as far as they did. So I'm not necessarily shocked by this, but my expectations were that the 49ers won this one. I want to move to the next game here. It's the Patriots-Browns. The Patriots win this game 32-13. A good friend of the show has brought it to my attention that we don't talk about the Patriots enough, and I'm admittedly, as I've told this my friend, that I'm not a Patriots fan because I still have the stigma of the success that they found. I like Mike Vrabel, and gentlemen, I really like Drake May. He's a good quarterback. And look, it's the Browns, so I don't want to really like get the magnifying glass out and dissect what happened here. Right. But when Myles Garrett can get 5 sacks in a game and still lose by over 20 points, roughly, 19 points if you get down to brass tacks, that's terrible. 18, thank you. Math is hard. It's been a long day. We knew this offense was going to be terrible. We knew that this Browns offense was not going to be great. There are a couple things that I want to highlight very quickly before we move to the next game, because I don't really think there's a ton to dissect here, but I got 3 questions for you. So I'll start with, or not, 2 questions, 1 statement. TreVeyon Henderson, he led the running back room with 75 yards and more than 7 yards per carry. This is what you wanted to see as right. TreVeyon Henderson is a rookie coming in. Ramondre Stevenson is not an efficient running back, and he's prone to put the ball on the ground or in the ball into the opponent's hands. That's what he has done a lot. It's really great to say TreVeyon, get involved. I think the reason that he was involved is because this was the Browns. This was an opportunity for them to kind of lightly let him get the workload. But I really want to see that happen more, because they drafted him with high draft capital, and he has not been utilized in this offense at all. I was not surprised to see him utilized because this game script went the way it did. So I wanted to highlight that. Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about for TreVeyon?
Well, I think that, as lopsided as this game was, and as much as we want to laugh at the Browns, their defense is really freaking good. And averaging over 7 yards a carry against this Browns defense with people like Myles Garrett, rushing at you immediately, that's nothing to sneeze at. And obviously it's one performance, and we have to see it, but it just makes you scratch your head. Like, why hasn't he been getting more of a workload for the whole season?
We're inching closer to Shador time.
And that was going to be my second question. That was going to be my second question. There's already been conversation. Dylan Gabriel has not looked great. Do you think that by the end of the season we will get a start out of Shador Sanders? That was my first question, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. Scotty, you agree with that? Because I think it's going to happen. What do they have to lose?
What do they have to lose? It's just every week you have Myles Garrett going to the podium after the game, and they say, how much does it suck that you're so great, but your offense fucking is ass? And he's like, well, it really sucks. And then the next week, it's the same exact question.
Yeah, this week he was literally like, I would give all 5 of the sacks back to get a win. Like, that's where his brain goes.
Sure. Last question. This has to do with the Patriots. The Patriots are leading the AFC East. They're 6-2. They're beating the Bills in the AFC East at 5-2. Are the Patriots a playoff team, gentlemen? Are the Patriots going to the playoffs this year?
I would say, yeah. If I'm a betting man, yes. The Patriots look like a good team. I mean, they don't look like a team that's going to win the Super Bowl, but they look like a team that if they were in the NFC South, they would
first round, second round. How far are they going to go if you do think that? Like, and read the tea leaves here a little bit. What do you think?
I don't think it matters. I think even if they have a first round exit, they get blown out, it's still going to be a success. I mean, you have your quarterback is looking really, really good. Your team is taking the right steps, and you made it to the playoffs. I think as long as they make it to the playoffs, everyone's going to be pretty happy. At least from my perspective, it seems like that's the case. It's a team that is not winning right now as far as making it to the Super Bowl, but they're moving in that direction, and you can't be upset about that at all.
Alan, you're quiet over there. Do you agree?
I'm choppy. And I'm gonna bounce after this take if you guys can still hear me.
Yes, we can.
My thing with Drake May is I don't think we give enough credit for how good he is with his legs. I think he runs the ball really effectively. He's an athlete. I think we look at him as like a pocket passer, but he's as much as athletic as as a Jackson Dart or anybody else. And I think people overlook that piece about him. And I think that's a sneaky good thing for the Patriots to have in their back pocket, is that he can move the ball with his legs if he needs to.
I agreed. I Patriots are going to go to the playoffs this year. I think at bare minimum, if the Bills do supplant themselves in the AFC East as the front runner, I think the Patriots will make a wild card push pretty handily. So we'll see how it. I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I think that's still out of the realm of possibility. But what you were hoping was, is Mike Vrabel still the guy? Does he still can he still get the best out of his players, and can he develop Drake May? And that's check.
Yeah.
Yes, we're seeing all of that.
Hey, shout out to 11 years ago. We got the Patriots leading one division and the Broncos leading another division.
Here we are.
We're back.
Here we are. History is repeating itself. So, all right, Alan, you gotta jump a little early today, so we will continue the NFL conversation without you, and we will see you next Monday.
Yeah, baby.
All right. Chiefs. Eagles, Giants, Scotty. Eagles win this one 38-20. We talked about Cam Skattebo. We talked about the fact that, he's not going to be here for the rest of the season. It's a tough look. It sucks. there's one thing that I wanted to talk about in this game more than anything else, and it's the damn tush push, because I saw red when the tush push. Yeah. I was so upset,
when
and I
Jalen
thought
Hurst reached that ball out and it got stripped.
And they said it wasn't stripped, and I'm like, what are you talking about? How is this fair? That's bullshit.
I've been
is what that
waiting for
is.
this conversation all day.
Let's do it, because when I saw that, I was like, okay, we're going to talk about it on the show. This is horseshit. I hope my guys agree with me here, because I was so mad at the fact that they did not call that a turnover, and the fact that they allowed that to happen tells me that the refs have zero idea how to ref the tush push. I was never of the belief that the tush push should be banned. My mentality is completely shifted because this is bullshit.
100%. I'm glad you said that, because I completely agree. And that's the thing. We always kind of advocated for the tush push to remain in the game because it seemed like people wanted to ban it just because it was unstoppable. That's not why I have a problem with it. I mean, if you can't stop it, you can't stop it. But I have a problem with it when you can jump offsides every single time you run it, you false start. And now the refs are treating the tush push like it's a goal line play, no matter where it is on the field. And Jalen Hurts can just stretch the ball out while still moving forward. It can be stripped, and 6 full seconds later, the whistle blows, and then they say, "Oh, it was he stopped moving forward, so it plays dead." It's just nonsense. I will say my secondary take here as a Chiefs fan, this just demonstrates all the ref conversation was bullshit. It always was bullshit, because whatever team is at the top of the league, whatever team wins the Super Bowl, everybody is talking about how the refs treat that team. Because I don't know if you've been on social media over the weekend, but it has just been one person after another. Oh, what? The refs are winning games for the Eagles. The refs are doing this for the Eagles. Okay. Let's all just take a step back. The refs are stupid. We know the refs are stupid. The refs are always stupid in every game, every sports league, because you know why? They keep you from winning bets. And that's the real problem, is that we all just get pissed at the refs because they cost us money every week. But it's just a ridiculous narrative. It always was. The refs are dumb. The tush push should be banned. And I'll just round it out by saying that.
I went on my rant and I said the same thing. The fact that was not called a turnover is absolutely mind-boggling to me. And it's not fair. Like, it's not fair for the Eagles to be able to him to just reach the ball over. The ball gets grabbed out of his hands. The Giants come up with it, and then they're like, no. That's bullshit.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, normally on one-off plays, you're just like, okay, the refs made a mistake. Like, and that happens. They're people. And, plays happen really fast, so it is what it is. But we're just seeing consistently over and over and over again, things are missed with this tush push because it doesn't look like any other play in football. You have this massive bodies. The refs can't see where the forward progress stops. The refs can't see if the first down is reached. The refs can't see if the ball crossed the goal line. Like, there's just nothing about it that makes it possible for the refs to make the right call on a consistent basis. And if that's the case, the play shouldn't exist. I mean, if you can't more often than not run a play fairly and by the rules of the game, then it shouldn't be in the game. That's just common sense. And you're not some soy boy who's just sad that you can't stop the tush push if you point that out. I was on the complete opposite end of this argument last year, and now that I've seen it over and over again, and I've just seen constantly the refs blowing this play and resulting in the Eagles getting first downs and touchdowns when they shouldn't, it should be out of the game. Like, that's just, we're past the point now. It should be gone.
Here's the question that comes to mind for me, and this is kind of a two-parter. One, if they call this a turnover, as it should have been, I don't think anybody sitting here saying not anybody, because there are already people that are saying to ban the tush push, but I think that noise has gotten significantly louder because of. So if they called that a turnover, as it should have been, perhaps the tush push stays. But I think there's going to be even more noise now that it needs to get banned. So this one play could have been the nail in the coffin for them to ban the tush push. And that's just my opinion. The second thing that comes to mind is, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line on the tush push? Because then can you do a quarterback sneak? What does that look like? How are you able to ref that? And I'm playing devil's advocate here, because that's the next question that comes to mind for me is, can you still do a quarterback sneak? How are you able to do that? I don't have the right answer for that, but then that's going to be my follow-up question if they do in fact ban the tush push, like I think that they should. The tush push it is technically a quarterback sneak. How do you run that efficiently?
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, any short yardage play, you're going to have a bunch of bodies piled up. It's difficult to officiate, but the tush push is just it's just a different play in kind because number one, you have somebody obviously pushing the quarterback from behind. I've been an advocate that, there on the defensive side, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to push your players into the line of scrimmage. If there is a field goal situation, you can't throw your players over the line of scrimmage to block a field goal, right? There are rules that prevent the defense from doing that.
They should be able to do that, though. That would be cool.
I agree. That's what I've said. Like, just make it even on both sides of the ball, and then it is what it is. Like, if you can push on one side, you should be able to push on the other. But you are going to have a difference there. But because this rule only exists on the offensive side of the ball, and the play, it's sort of like, people say, you can't define pornography, but you know it when you see it. Like, it's difficult to define the tush push exactly, like why it's so different. But when you watch it, you go, that play doesn't belong in this sport. That play looks fundamentally different than even a quarterback sneak, even other, any other play that's run on the field. You just recognize that it doesn't look the same. And that is what it is on one level. But on the other level, if we also combine that with a lack of accurate officiating on this play over and over and over again, okay, well, those two things combined suggest that, okay, maybe we should take this out. Maybe it should be removed.
Well, and I think that's really the question now at hand is you're going to have to be able to define that. And how do you differentiate that from a traditional
it's just pushing.
sneak?
It's just pushing. That's the difference. Because when you're able to push, that's when you get all the players behind the quarterback and you get that clump of players. When it's just the quarterback sneaking behind the offensive line, it sort of looks the same, but you don't have the quarterback completely engulfed by his players often. And so you can see the ball better. You can see everything a little bit better. It's just easier to officiate, which is why we've never had this conversation with a regular quarterback sneak. But now the tush push is prominent, and from day one, we've been having this conversation.
Ban it. I'm done with it. I think it's bullshit. I think the fact that they did not call that a turnover is complete horseshit, and I am very much of the belief now to ban it when I had not been prior to that. So I don't want to talk about the Bucs Saints at all. The Bucs win this game 23-3. I admittedly, this game was over before it started. So
and Radler really sucked, and I'm pretty sure he got benched in this game. So it's tough.
Yeah, the Saints are the Saints. We all knew they were going to be terrible. Let's move over to a really good team, being the Colts. Beat the Titans 38-14. Alan did put some notes in here that I really want to touch on. They are the best team in the league with the best scoring differential. Do you agree with that? Not the scoring differential. We can't. The numbers are the numbers. Is this one of the best teams in the league right now, Scotty?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you can't say anything different because, when you ask the next question on the sheet, I think we're going to have an interesting conversation. But so far, there's just no disputing with the fact that pound for pound, the Colts are the most efficient, effective, explosive team in the NFL. That's just the bottom line. It's just true. And, the Chiefs, for example, have put together several good offensive performances where they've started to look more explosive, but it's still not anything compared to the Colts. So Daniel Jones is just playing out of his mind. And then you add in Jonathan Taylor, who's playing like an MVP running back. Like, this offense just looks good. And by the way, the defense, I know the offense is scoring a ton of points, so the defense doesn't have to do a lot, but the defense looks good too. It just looks like a complete unit, which is crazy. Like, if you would have gone back in time and told me that I would be saying this, I don't know. I would have thought that I died and went to hell or something. Like, there's no fucking
Nobody
way.
did.
There's no
We
way.
all made fun of the Colts going into this year because they were trying to figure out, should it be Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones? Clearly, they made the right call. But nobody had the Colts doing what they're doing. Nobody. They were the laughingstock of the NFL alongside with the Browns and the Jets. That's who the Colts were going into this year. And boy, did they make a lot of people eat their words.
Oh, it's funny. I was thinking about our conversations that we had about the Colts, and we were talking about, okay, do you start with Anthony Richardson? Do you start with Daniel Jones? The assumption being, of course, that you're going to have to switch because they're going to suck. And it's like, how are you going to manage that? And my argument was, well, you start with Anthony Richardson because if he sucks, you just get rid of him. And the whole time we're having that argument, the coaching staff is watching Daniel Jones like in preseason, and they're like, oh my God, this guy is way better than anything. Like, this guy is so much better than we thought. It's not even close. It's not even close to a conversation. And now it makes sense when you look back and you see, the coaching staff comes out and says, oh, Daniel Jones is our starter. And we're all like, whoa, like that's kind of premature, isn't it? And no, it's not premature at all. No. This is clear that this is the guy, and it's not even close.
Well, do we trust him to be the best team at the end?
Honestly, my heart still says no. My heart still says this is reminiscent of the Vikings last year, where we saw Sam Darnold looking way better than what anyone expected, and then you get to the playoffs, and it's like, oh, there's Sam Darnold. Like, there's the guy that we all know. Like, we have a large enough sample size of Daniel Jones for us to be justified in our skepticism, even though we're seeing it week in and week out. That it's like,
And
okay,
the same
this
thing
looks
was
really
true
good.
with Sam Darnold.
Agreed. Well, I actually think it's even more so with Daniel Jones, because Sam Darnold was on. Yes, Daniel Jones was on struggling teams who didn't have a lot of weapons, but Sam Darnold was on like the worst of the worst teams over and over and over again, and he doesn't have the same, he doesn't have the legs that Daniel Jones has, and it's just like, I don't know. But there's no doubt in my mind that this team right now is the best team in the NFL. Deep down, I'm still skeptical that it's going to be sustainable for the remainder of the season and into the postseason.
They're clearly the best team in the AFC South, but bar none. I mean, the Jaguars, Texans, Titans, Colts, the Colts are not leading. They are dominating the AFC South. They are going to go to the playoffs. They are a playoff contending team. I think they're looking at the landscape of the AFC right now, Scotty. I think they're going to go to the AFC Championship.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's crazy to say. And I know a lot of people are sitting here saying, shut up, you have no idea what you're talking about. I think there is a legitimate chance that they're going to go to the AFC Championship. And I think that just based on how they're playing. Now, obviously, if they start losing pieces and injuries and all those kind of things, that's going to change this conversation. But if we were to take this team right now and they were able to stay healthy throughout the remainder of the season, they're going to the AFC Championship in my mind.
Let's talk for a second. Let's get real, because I don't want to take anything away from this Colts team. They look phenomenal. When it comes to the eye test, like, bam, they're the best. If you were to, let's say tonight, if it was Colts, Lions, who are you taking deep down?
The Lions.
If it was Colts, Eagles, who are you taking deep down?
Colts.
Okay. All right. At least it's a conversation, though. It's not like the Colts are obviously in
Sure.
our minds. It's not like they're far and away. Let's recap their schedule here real quick, because in week 1 they played the Dolphins, who we now know are an atrocious team except for week 8. In week 2 they played the Broncos, who pretty good team, but they won that game by 1 point. It was a very, very close game. Week 3 they played the Titans, who we know are an atrocious team. Week 4 they played the Rams, good team. They lost that game. Week 5 they played the Raiders, an atrocious team. Week 6 they played Cardinals, who are closer to atrocious than not. They're barely won that
atrocious,
game.
Scotty. Stop glazing. They're bad.
Closer to atrocious than that. Week 7 they played the Chargers, who are, depending on the week, they're okay. And then they played the Titans again, who are an atrocious team. So it's not like these guys are playing top-tier talent in the NFL. And yes, they're winning the games by a lot. In a lot of cases, they look really, really good, so I don't want to take anything away from them. But it's too early for us to appoint them as the top of the conference, I think, because they haven't played the top of the conference yet.
Statistically, yes. They are at the top of the conference. They should be at the top.
But
of the conference,
statistically, you can
but
look
I think
at the defenses that they played.
That's very fair. I think that is a very fair argument, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And something that I really hadn't taken into consideration is who they played. And if we're talking that they're playing the Bills, and I don't even want to say the Ravens, because the Ravens aren't great this year, and they've struggled with injuries. And
that's the thing about the AFC, though. It's like all the teams are kind of like that.
Yeah,
I would argue that the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC right now, and we saw how they looked at the beginning of the season and dropping all those games. Like it's rough. And even the Chargers have really, really good weeks and they look great, and then they have weeks where they get destroyed, and the Broncos have a great defense and a pretty bad offense, and nothing is perfect. So now is the time for them to rise to the top of the AFC for sure. But again, I just have this deep-seated sort of skepticism, and a lot of it is drawn just from their schedule so far. It's just their opponents have not been that impressive. And yes, they've gotten the job done. You can't take that away from them. You never apologize for wins. But I just have to see more before I don't have faith.
There's 2 more games on the schedule that really are going to be telling of who the Colts are. It's the Chiefs in 2 weeks from now, or it's 3 weeks from now. They play the Steelers next week, the Falcons, and then the Chiefs. That's going to be the game that I'm circling, and that's going to be my game of the week, because I'm going to sit there and say, who are the Colts? We know they are a good team. And if you don't think they're a good team, you're not watching football. They are a good team. Can they compete with the Chiefs? That's going to be the first one. And then 3 weeks thereafter, they played the Seahawks. And that's going to be another one where I think the Colts should beat the Seahawks. I think the Colts are a better team than the Seahawks. But it could get interesting. The rest of these games I'm looking at, Scotty, I'm saying win, 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 win. The Colts are going to win a lot of these games. The Colts are going to they're going to the playoffs, bar none.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they should beat the Steelers. The Falcons, it depends on which team shows up because we've seen
I'm taking
Falcons,
the Colts because I don't trust the Falcons.
They're definitely going to be favored probably by a lot. I agree with that. But that's just the state of the AFC right now. And I guess the Falcons, of course, are in the NFC. But you look through these games and you see like the Texans. Okay, which version of the Texans are we going to get? Because I saw the Texans
the ones that are going to
week.
beat the Colts.
I saw the Texans this week look pretty damn good. And
I don't think they get it done against the Colts. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but the point is the competition that they've played so far doesn't stack up to even the Falcons on a good night or the Texans on a good night because they've played the Titans twice and the Raiders. Like they've played the worst of the worst so far. And in the games where they didn't play the worst of the worst, they either lost or barely squeaked out wins. And it's like, I'm just still not convinced is all I'm trying to say. Not that I don't appreciate everything that they've accomplished, but I'm just not convinced.
Okay, well, last question on the Colts here. Daniel Jones is on a 1-year deal. They've got to re-sign him. I mean, there's no chance they don't re-sign him, right? Like he's going to get probably a 3-year deal with them, and he's going to be their guy for the at least the foreseeable future. Are you on board with that, or where you at with Daniel Jones?
You never start like this without getting a ton of benefit of the doubt. I will say there is a world in which this season collapses for the Colts because we've seen what Daniel Jones can look like. We've seen what he can look like, and I'm still afraid that he could fall into that at any moment. It's not likely. I would say.
I don't think it's going to happen.
90%, 95%, he's going to be there. He's going to sign a long-term deal, but there is a world in which, given the strength of their schedule, if they go out and lose to the Steelers, or they lose to the Falcons, or they lose to the Texans, and they lose to the Jags, like there's a world in which this team can really, really collapse. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could.
So in the event that happens, do you think they still sign Daniel Jones?
If there's a collapse like that, it depends on what it looks like. It depends on if those losses are because Daniel Jones looked like what we've seen Daniel Jones look like. If he's going to be throwing a bunch of picks and scrambling like a lunatic, and like he's looked very, very bad. He's looked as bad as Justin Fields has looked this season in recent memory. Like we remember Daniel Jones being the laughingstock of quarterbacks. He can look like that. So if he looks like that, then they're going to run away. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think Daniel Jones, just given his play that he's played so far this season, and really what stands out to me is the Sam Darnold situation from last year with the Vikings, where, you know, it was a similar conversation, but it's different. And the reason that it's different is because the Colts didn't draft a first-round quarterback just last season. They did a couple years ago with Anthony Richardson, and that's not going to work out for them. They have determined that. So I think that even in the event that this season so far for the Colts has been lightning in a bottle, I still think Daniel Jones has earned himself another contract. And I think really the question now is, in the event that what we just mentioned as far as that collapse, the question then becomes how long of a contract, and you need to prove it to us again. In the event that it depends on what it looks like, if it is Daniel Jones, then it's really the length. But I'm firmly in the belief that Daniel Jones will be the starting quarterback next year. That the time of the contract is just going to be determined by how they finish.
Well, if you had to put money on it, what was your guess for the length of his contract extension?
3 years. I think we'll get a 3-year deal.
I think that's about right too.
Because the Colts aren't going to want to sign him to a 5-year deal and him be their quarterback for the next 5 years in the event that we do see that regression. I think 3 years is a good time where you can build around him. Which realistically, there's not a ton of build. Colts have a great offensive line. They've got Jonathan Taylor. They've got weapons. They drafted Tyler Warren. Michael Pittman is aging but still around. Alec Pierce. They have talent. So really what they need to do is continue to build around that talent, and you can do that in a 3-year window and really try and compete. And so I think you don't want to leverage the farm on a long-term deal for a guy who we have seen in the past has struggled. So I think what is most probable here is the Colts finish strong. I think Daniel Jones signs a 3-year deal, and he's their starting quarterback for 3 years. And that's me reading the tea leaves.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. All right, Broncos, Cowboys. The Broncos win this game 44-24. Not surprised. I'm a little surprised because I didn't expect the Cowboys to win that handily. I expected, the Broncos to win that handily. I expected the Broncos to probably win this game because the Cowboys' defense is terrible. And really, the going into this game, the question for me was, can the Cowboys' offense overcompensate for their terrible defense and be able to perform? It's the Cowboys' offense versus the Broncos' defense. And if the Cowboys can win that, they're going to win this game. They couldn't. And the Broncos' offense has not looked great this entire year. They've had good outings, they've had good showings, but I really haven't seen just like that. We got this. We're gonna dominate in this game. And the Cowboys defense is terrible. So really, I'm not surprised that the Broncos won, but I'm surprised they won by 20 points. That was really the thing that I was like, oh, okay. Well, I expected the Cowboys offense to maybe do a little bit more.
I mean, this is what the Cowboys are susceptible to in this current era, because they are susceptible to, when things start to go bad, they snowball. They snowball quickly. And that's just the culture of the team. I mean, we've seen that year over year where, last year going into the season, we're like, yeah, Cowboys will probably be pretty good. And then just a complete and total collapse, just embarrassing, terrible team. And this season, obviously their offense has been very good, but their defense is so bad that they're, not winning games that they might have otherwise won if they had competent defensive players. So it's just not surprising that when things start to go bad, they go pretty bad. And I was talking to a buddy of mine when this game started, and this is pretty much exactly what I predicted. I think it's the most predictable outcome of the week, because you're like, okay, Dak Prescott, he's been playing really well. This is a good offense, but they haven't played the Broncos defense. This Broncos defense is elite, so they're going to struggle to put up points. The Broncos, on the other hand, have struggled to put up points, but they haven't played this Cowboys defense, which is pathetic. So This was just the most predictable outcome that you were going to get, that the Cowboys were going to struggle to put up points. They still put up 24, not terrible, but the Broncos were just going to get that confidence off their defensive success and turn that into offensive points, and that's exactly what happened. And the Broncos looked really good. I think that I would have put a lot of money that the Broncos were going to win this game, because it just seemed like it was inevitable.
Sure. There has been some chatter. I know you love that word. Okay. About Cowboys going out and trying to get Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals.
I think did Trey Hendrickson get injured? Wasn't there an injury? I think I heard this. Hold on. So. Let me just verify. Maybe see if this is fake news. Bengals Trey Hendrickson suffers another injury in Week 8 loss to Jets. Let's see what it is.
That smells like a discount to me.
Smells like a discount. He's got a hip injury. That's all it says.
You throw some ice on it, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. So ultimately, I feel bad for Trey Hendrickson. He's like, both teams. If he, in the event that he goes to the Cowboys,
which team would you rather play for if you were Trey? Cowboys or Bengals?
That's tough.
One,
you get Skyline chilly. The other one, you get warm weather.
Yeah, but you have to look at Jerry Jones up in his press box every week.
I think that the Cowboys uniforms are in a whole different tier compared to the ugly ass Bengals uniforms. So
you like the Cowboys uniform? I hate the Cowboys uniform.
It's just classic. They're classy. I hate the
Cowboys.
I also hate the Cowboys, but the uniforms themselves, I like quite a bit.
Pass.
So I think I would choose them for that reason. It's warmer. It's just new. You don't have to deal with the bullshit of Cincinnati. We know how cheap that fucking organization is. Just get out.
Okay, but Jerry Jones is not like a welcoming. He'll pay you if you show him his penis. In the locker
Jerry
room,
Jones
like
is one of those guys. You just gotta take the Zeke route. And once you get into Jerry Jones's inner circle, he refuse to let you go. So he's like the most loyal man on earth for that handful of players.
Well, he wants a handful in return, if you know what I'm saying.
That's true.
Last game here before we do Monday night preview. We got Packers, Steelers. Packers win this one 35-25. Look, I don't really care for either of these teams. I'm going to be completely honest. I could care less about the Packers. I could care less about the Steelers. I wanted the Steelers to win this game because when I have no skin in the game, when I don't care about either team, I want to see history be made. And Aaron Rodgers, if he would have won this game, he would have beaten all 32 NFL teams. The only team he's not beaten is his old team, being the Green Bay Packers. I was rooting for the Steelers to win this one. I didn't think they'd get it done because the Steelers are not a good team. The Steelers' offense is terrible, and that's largely due to Aaron Rodgers and the lack of weapons across the board. But, man, how cool would it have been to see Aaron Rodgers beat his old team and get the last team that he needed to beat all 32 NFL teams? That would have been cool.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really care. I'm like you. It's like neither of these teams really moved the needle for me. It's just kind of, it is what it is. Obviously I think most people had the Packers winning the game, and the reason for that is because the Steelers just look kind of bad. Like they just every game they play this season, win or lose, they just kind of look bad. Aaron Rodgers looks old, especially he shaved his beard now, which was a terrible mistake because he just looks like his face and neck kind of looks like a
his
nutsack.
Mysterious wife wants that.
Yeah, his wife goes to another school. She's totally real, and we still have no idea if that's true. Like I don't know. I was talking to my wife about that. He's like, she mentioned something about that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he's married. Like we talked about that for 30 seconds in the offseason, and then I looked it up, and they're like, oh, we still have no idea who this woman is, and she just likes her privacy, and she's totally totally exists, and she's totally not like a sock under his bed. I don't know. But he looks so old without a beard. He definitely needs to grow the beard.
He is old. He's like 43.
At least with the beard, you can pretend that you're like, I'm still an athlete. But without the beard, he looks
like Joe Flacco.
Even Joe Flacco, though. Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco looks like a nutsack, too.
He's old. Yeah, that's true. But when I was looking at Aaron Rodgers and then looking at like some of the folks who are commentating the games who haven't played football in a decade, I'm like, well, Aaron Rodgers looks just as old as those people. Like, it's crazy. But no, I don't know. There's something about the Steelers that they just don't look good. And I know they've won, quite a few games, but I just look at them and I'm like, I just have no faith that they're ever going to win the current game that they're playing. And they find ways to do it. The defense is pretty good.
They're leading the AFC North.
I know, but it's just, and the AFC North, of course, is a dumpster fire in and of itself. They're just the least dumpster fire team in the dumpster fire division. So
it's like
congratulations.
It's like Mike Tomlin just looks at everything around him and he goes, "We just need to do enough to skate by." That's just always what he does, and they're doing it right now. Steelers' offense is not good. Steelers' offense is pitiful. It is sad. It is terrible. It is not a good offense. Really, their defense is trying to keep them in games, and I think they're even struggling to do that. And we saw it here against the Packers. I mean, the fact that Tucker Kraft caught, I don't know if you saw that ball that Tucker Kraft caught. Jordan Love was getting sacked. He should have been sacked. He threw the ball up in the air, and it was in the air. I actually got a stopwatch out. 42 seconds that ball was flying through the air. And then Tucker
I thought you were being
Kraft,
serious for a second, and then you said 42 seconds. I'm like, oh, I must have missed that.
And you had to have. They probably went to a TV timeout because the ball was still in the air.
Yeah.
The ball was in the air, and then Tucker Kraft pushed off the defender and caught the ball, and then he was so gassed from running 20 yards down the field because he's not used to running routes that deep. And he was so tired that then like 3 defenders had to like kind of just hang on to him as he trudged along. It was embarrassing. It was sad. It was frustrating. And I'm like, what are we watching here? I was like, this is terrible. I was so frustrated to see that. And I also was going against Tucker Kraft in fantasy, so it ruined my night.
That'll do it. I kind of liked the game. I thought was kind of fun to watch. It just seemed like for a while, I mean, the Packers kind of turned it on at the end and they started to look like what you'd expect. But for a while, it was a typical sort of northern slugfest where there weren't a lot of points and there was a lot of defense. And I don't know, it was just kind of interesting to see. But yeah, ultimately, you watch the Steelers play, you come away with just no confidence that they're. It's
boring.
Right.
It's kind of like the Eagles of the last few weeks. To start the season, it's just boring football. It's not fun to watch, and that's the Steelers. But somehow they're figuring out a way to get it done. Let's go to Monday Night Preview and get the heck out of here. We have the Commanders at Kansas City. Scotty, you are the Chiefs fan. I do have. I have this entire season. You guys. Throughout this show, we've been doing the show for what, 3 or 4 years now. Throughout this entirety of this show, you guys have labeled me as a Chiefs hater. I have said I am not a Chiefs hater. In this season, I have taken the stance.
Sometimes you've said you're not. Sometimes you say, yeah, I'm a Chiefs hater. I hate the Chiefs.
Okay. Well, I haven't said anything this year. I've really let you guys run your storylines. I've let you guys talk about your team, and I've kind of sat in the shadows. So I'm going to let you talk about this game, and I'll talk about it with you since Alan's not here. I will be the guy that I will bring fair assessment to it. But I have something I want to talk about after this. So As far as the Commanders and Chiefs are concerned, who do you have win this one? What are your expectations? What are your thoughts going into this game?
Well, as far as I'm aware, Jaden Daniels is still not playing. So if that's the case, obviously the Chiefs should be massive favorites. I haven't looked at the line, but I imagine that it's pretty significant without their starting quarterback.
Marcus Mariota is playing.
Yeah, in this game, it's less about the result. Obviously, the Chiefs need to win, so I guess the result is important. But it's more about how the product looks. And the Chiefs over the last 3 weeks have not only they have looked like the best team in the AFC over the last 3 weeks. The defense has always been good, except for week 1 in Brazil. Brazil's bad juju, so we don't like that. But since then, they've been very good. And the offense has slowly gotten back on track and now has the weapons back and now is looking like maybe one of the best offenses that we've seen with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And that, I don't want to exaggerate here, but that makes me so freaking excited. Because over the last few years, yes, the Chiefs have been very successful. Obviously, we've got many Super Bowls. But the Chiefs, since Tyreek Hill left, just have not been the same team to watch. Like, from the fans' perspective, it's like that offensive performance that Patrick Mahomes had at the start of his career was just so spectacular. It was just so much fun to watch. And then since then, it's just been like, okay, we just need Patrick Mahomes in the game so he doesn't actively lose the game because our defense is the reason why we're winning games. And it finally feels like we've got a total package again. The question is, with the rough start to the season, are we able to play at a level that is perfect enough to, make it back to an AFC championship and make it to a Super Bowl? And that's obviously very, very difficult for any team to accomplish. But in this particular game, if we find out that Marcus Mariota beat this Chiefs team, it's going to be at Arrowhead. It's going to be a very, very, very troublesome headline, which is very sad.
Yeah, the Chiefs should win this game pretty handily. The Commanders this season have really struggled with injury. Jaden Daniels is a part of that. My concern with the Commanders going into this season is I feel validated in a sad way. Because my concern with the Commanders was their age, and they were the oldest team coming into the NFL. I was saying that in the, back before preseason. I was like, my concern with the Commanders, are they able to stay healthy? Because they do have a lot of aging assets on this team, and it's really starting to show itself. So they're struggling with the health side of things. Not having Jaden Daniels here completely changes and I probably would still have the Chiefs winning this game, but it would be more interesting with Jaden Daniels. And there's that little bit of frisky element where the Commanders could win it, and I wouldn't be shocked. I expect the Chiefs to win this game pretty handily. I don't think it's going to be much of a competition, to be quite honest with you. But really, what I'm looking for when I'm watching this game, and I think as a Chiefs fan, I feel as if this is probably your mentality as well. I want to see how Rashee Rice has continued to be utilized. And that's with him coming back last week. He was a focal point, and he wasn't even on the field that much. I think he ran a total of maybe 19 routes or something like that. He wasn't on the field a ton, but he was hyper-targeted when he was. I want to see how they continue to use him. And that's really what I'm going to be watching in this game. I think with both having him and Xavier Worthy on the field, you've got Hollywood Brown there as kind of an ancillary piece, an aging Travis Kelce. I expect Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy to be very involved, and I think getting Rashee Rice back allowed Xavier Worthy to be more of an element in this offense as well, because now has to be the focal point of it.
That's the reason. This is the reason why we drafted Rashee Rice, or why we drafted Xavier Worthy. Excuse me. It is the exact formula that the Lions have used with Amon-Ra St. Brown and J-Mo. It's the exact sort of formula where you have this guy who's just your go-to guy, and he can run all of these routes, and he's just super talented. And then you have a guy who can take the top off at any moment, and the defense has to respect that. And the fact that Xavier Worthy has been forced into this wide receiver one role so far in his career is really, he's handled it very well, but it really is a tragedy. Like, that's not why he was drafted there, and that's not the role he's supposed to play. And the expectations on him were just so, dramatically higher than they should have been. And again, he's handled it well, but what we're going to see for the remainder of the season, knock on wood that there aren't any more significant injuries, but what we are going to see for the remainder of the season is the way that this offense was designed in Andy Reid's head back before the draft. And that's what I'm very excited to see. We saw that last year.
It's weird you didn't say Matt Nagy, though.
No, not Matt Nagy. Me and Alan, as the two Chiefs fans on this podcast, text each other at least once a week about firing Matt Nagy. Like, we talk about it every single time the Chiefs are on the TV. Nagy. There is one point during the game where we're like, Matt Nagy needs to go. Like, it's just crazy that he's still there.
I agree.
But no, I think that you're going to see Rashee Rice hyper targeted, and the reason is he is the best athlete on the Chiefs offense. Like, there's just bar none. That's why he is on the team. That's why he was drafted there, and that's
best athlete.
No. He's the best athlete.
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes is the best football player. Rashee Rice is the best athlete, for sure.
All right, fair. I'll let you have that one.
Thanks. I appreciate that. But yeah, he's the best athlete on the field. You got to get the ball in his hands. And frankly, with him out, it's been tough to find an athlete. I mean, Xavier Worthy's got straight line speed, and that's great, and he's very good. But you look at people like Travis Kelce, who can barely run. And
how dare you not call Juju Smith an athlete?
Yeah, and I'm so sick. The best part about getting these receivers back is that we finally can stop relying on Juju. The fact that I've been relying on freaking Juju Smith-Schuster for years is so insane to
Every
me.
year I'm like, okay, they're finally done with him. They can move on from him, and he's back on the roster because they need a freaking
crazy.
guy.
And it's so, and he's been the best receiver, like consistently, because he's on the field and he doesn't get injured. And so, like, the fact that we're getting all these players back, it's like finally Juju can take some plays off. Like, maybe you only play a handful of plays from now on, and maybe we don't have to think about you anymore. It'd be so great.
Well, I wanted to bring this up to you, Scotty, and you're gonna label me a Chiefs hater for it, but it was a good friend of the show brought me this information and suggested that I discuss it with you and Alan.
Okay.
However, Alan's not here, so you're gonna have to fight this battle on your own.
All right.
Okay. I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if you've seen this in the media, but it is real. It is a real thing. So this was not fictitious. This is not a tug buck situation. This is real. Okay. All right. I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
This is a study that was done by the University of Texas at El Paso. Have you heard about this?
I have not heard about the study. I have heard about El Paso. I know
Okay,
that's
yeah,
real.
it's a real place. It is a real university. And they conducted a real study analyzing NFL penalties from 2015 to 2023 in regards to the Chiefs.
Okay.
Their findings were that it suggests that the postseason officiating has disproportionately favored the Kansas City Chiefs, potentially due to the team's rise as a marketable franchise, and this is all part of this. The research led by finance professor Spencer Barnes found that penalties against opposing defenses in Chiefs playoff games were more likely to result in first downs and cover more yardage than the average penalty. And then the study's authors theorized that financial pressures on the NFL may have influenced this trend. The same as the same pattern was not observed for the Tom Brady era or other Super Bowl contenders. So this was a study that was done by a real university and real professors and all of these things. Mm-hmm. And we're talking 8 years of studies that they had done here, that essentially stating that the refs were giving more favorable calls to the Chiefs.
Okay, so obviously I haven't read the study. The first thing that jumps out at me is just because there are more penalties, and there are penalties that go
more favorable penalties.
Right,
I think we need to use that word.
The favorable penalty does not mean that the penalty did not take place. It does not mean, so you could have one team and say, wow, they sure have a lot of penalties in their favor this game. That doesn't mean the penalties were manifested out of thin air. There might have just been more penalties. And the fact that the Chiefs have consistently over the Patrick Mahomes era had one of the they have Andy Reid, who is drawing up plays, which are specifically, you would agree with me that Andy Reid is one of the best offensive minds in the NFL, correct?
Well, yes,
he's
I would.
right
I
up
would.
there,
I
yeah.
would. No, he is. He is.
Okay,
He
so you have
100% is.
one of the best offensive minds in the NFL designing concepts that are probably difficult for defenses to handle and probably going to result in a higher number of penalties against the defense when they're playing the team with the complex offense. So maybe if I read that and they show me a list of penalties and then show me a video replay of the penalty and say, look, this is bullshit. Look at this bullshit call. And they do that over and over again. Okay, maybe I'll buy it. But if they're just going to say, well, the Chiefs got all these calls without showing me any evidence that the calls weren't legitimate, it doesn't mean anything, of course.
Well, look, I'm going to be honest. I read the summary of it.
Yeah,
I didn't go in and look at it.
that's what everybody's going to do and share it.
Well, yeah, because I don't care. Because I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm not a Chiefs hater.
You are a Chiefs hater.
This study's just out there, and I was bringing it to the table.
It's just chatter.
No, this isn't chatter. This is real. This study is real. This is not.
Most studies are chatter. Let me tell you something. You give me enough time, I can get you a study that says pretty much anything.
But it has to come from an accredited university,
Sure.
or not a man in his basement.
It can come from all sorts of places. It can come from
has
place
to come from
in
a university.
Denmark.
This is a real university, Scotty.
I'm starting to question that because they're trying to say that, oh my God, the Chiefs are the NFL's rigged for the Chiefs' favor, but they are not specifically showing why the calls were incorrect.
They weren't even
That's
stating
crazy.
that it was for. I mean, they were, but it says that
They theorized that it was financial pressure. Okay, well, that insinuates that the calls were not correct. So
Because
are they
the Chiefs
providing
are-
evidence that the calls weren't correct?
I'm sure they
all.
do in the study. The study
I
shows
doubt
that during
it,
the
because the
playoffs,
study's on paper.
which
So are
the
they showing video?
research team identified as the NFL's most commercially valuable period, penalties against the opposing defenses of the Chiefs' offense were significantly more likely to result in first downs, cover more yardage, and fall into subjective categories such as roughing the passer or pass interference. Importantly, these effects were absent from the Tom Brady. Yeah, I already read that.
So okay, but let's focus on that point for a second, because you would imagine that if it was the case that the most financially successful franchise during any given period in the NFL, if the NFL was incentivized to treat them differently, you would expect that to be present in the Tom Brady era. So the fact that it wasn't present in the Tom Brady era
Means maybe Tom Brady's a better quarterback than Patrick
No,
Mahomes.
it actually means that the NFL most certainly is not scripted, and there isn't this secret pressure, because if that were the case, it would have been present in the Tom Brady era. So what this actually demonstrates is that the Chiefs are probably just getting more calls because there are penalties against the Chiefs who are, scheming offenses in different ways. Again,
Don't break the fourth wall.
none of
the
this-
NFL is scripted, and we all know that. So
none
do
of this
not state that
matters
it's not.
until you show me. This study needs to show me a list of all the penalties over the last 8 years, and then specifically point out to me which ones were wrong, incorrectly called. Because they could say penalties are subjective all they want to, but if I look at it and say, okay, well, that's roughing the passer, then it doesn't matter.
Well, I think subjective penalties, there are a lot of penalties, and I think you can't say that this is not true. There are penalties that are always more subjective calls than others. Holding, for example. You could argue that linemen hold on every single play. And I think you could find a hold almost on every single play. So that's more of a subjective call. So I don't think they're stating, I think when they say subjective, they're just saying the type of play that in which
I agree. So you are right about that. There are more subjective calls, but that claim in a vacuum.
Well, I don't know that. This is the study. Don't put this on me.
That claim in a vacuum makes sense. But again, you can say, well, look, holding is more subjective. The Chiefs got way more holding calls than anybody else. You still have to show me the play, because there are plenty of holding calls that are egregious and obviously should be called for holding. So unless the particular penalty is deemed to be incorrect, then what are we talking about here? We're just saying that the Chiefs, because they're good, shouldn't get calls?
I didn't read the study.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't look that deep into it. I just
telling
knew the person who brought this to me knew that it would infuriate people here in this podcast space and wanted me to stir the pot.
Okay.
And that's what I did here today.
That's fair. But next time you stir the pot, you should bring some actual evidence or something.
I did. This was a real study. I don't have the study with me.
I agree.
I was just telling you that this is a real study that has been conducted at the University of El Paso.
And El Paso University could put out a study that says when you take mushrooms, you understand quantum physics. And guess what? Who the fuck knows? It's a real study. Doesn't mean what it's saying is accurate or true.
It's just a study. And it's out there in the world.
If the study does not,
you're going to see it. You're going to see people talking about this and the chatter.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure
it's going to happen. So, if anything, in fact, you shouldn't be labeling me a Chiefs hater. You should be labeling me a Chiefs protector, because what I'm doing here, Scotty, is I'm kind of like the before war happens when
you're like the bugle guy.
Yeah, I'm blowing the bugle at the castle, and I'm like, "Hey, people are coming, and there's about to be a war."
Yeah, but
so prepare yourselves, and that's what I'm doing here today.
If you're blowing the bugle at my castle, I'm going to be freaked out. But the fact that people are going to call Chiefs cheaters is nothing new. That's been happening for years, and it's
I know that, but that's like the common folk in medieval times complaining because the king's a tyrant, but yet they still live there because it's just part of what they do to survive.
You've kind of lost me on this analogy now.
Well, I thought we were just kind of going the bugle horn train in medieval times, and I'm blowing the bugle horn at your castle stating there are troops coming. I live in the surrounding fields. I'm a simple farmer. I don't support the kingdom as far as the political game, but I support the kingdom because it's my livelihood. That's kind of what I'm doing here. But I saw the troops were getting together in my farmland, and I was like, hey, I got to go blow this bugle horn and alert the Chiefs kingdom that enemies are on the horizon in their repping El Paso flag.
No, I agree with that. But in this hypothetical, since we're continuing it, Chiefs kingdom, the kingdom, has a moat around it that's
Okay.
6 miles wide and 50 miles deep, and it's made up of 3 Super Bowls. So the enemy army can come in all they want to, but they're just going to fall into the moat, and me inside the castle is just going to say, oh.
There's just a lot of
I just don't give a
people.
fuck.
And they might fill up the entire moat with all the people and still not care, and they might keep coming. Look, I live outside the kingdom. Not because I love it. Not because I am a supporter, but because it's just best for my health. It's best for my life to be a simple farmer outside the kingdom. So I don't live inside the grounds.
Okay.
I'm not one of the chosen ones that's able to
You could come in
be
whenever you
fun
want to, by the way. You're welcome.
Well, I go in there to shop, but I leave and go back to my home. Like, that's about the extent of what I do here. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, that this study is being talked about in NFL spaces.
By a
and
bunch
I
of
think
very dumb people, it sounds like.
they're university
Whoever this
professors.
person is that brought this to your attention. I don't know who this person is.
A listener?
I'm
A
assuming
listener
I
of
know.
ours?
Do I know them personally?
I don't think you do know them personally,
Oh,
actually.
okay. Well, then I have no qualms with saying that they are indeed a blithering moron.
Wow, dude. You can't be saying that to the listeners. He's a proud supporter of Leather
The
Brains.
listeners know.
He is
that
a proud supporter. He is, in fact, I heard him just this last weekend telling other people about Leather Brains, and he's like, "You got to check these guys out."
Yeah,
So,
well, guess what? I don't want that anymore. I don't want a blithering moron advertising. You're banned from the show.
he
Listen
just
to me.
brought it to me.
You're banned from the show. Banned.
He didn't even say he agreed with it. He just gave it to he. It's like,
Yeah, he's spreading fake news. That's got to be a problem.
well, it's not fake news. It's out there. It's real news. He
Wow,
was just
okay,
giving
the
it
fact,
to me.
The fact that it exists as a study does not make it real news.
He didn't say it was real. He just said, "Hey, you should bring this to the podcast. This is going to be really entertaining for me to listen to," and it probably is.
You think it is entertaining for him?
I don't know. I guess we're going to find out because he's probably going to listen
Well,
tomorrow.
I hope
and
he
let me
likes
know.
it because it's the last time he's allowed to listen. So.
Okay. All right.
Man.
Well, that's all the time that we have here today, ladies and gentlemen. If you have made it through the entirety of the show, we genuinely appreciate it, especially as we went down the medieval banter route. We got lost on football a little bit there, but appreciate your guys' continued support. If you love the show, please hit the subscribe button wherever you might be at, whether it be YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you are consuming the show at. Genuinely would appreciate that you hitting that subscribe button and maybe even leaving us 5 stars, because we are a smaller podcast here, and we have to give a shout out to our sponsor, Burger King. Of course, they're keeping the lights on. Go get yourself a double Whopper with cheese. Get yourself a large and get the Diet Coke. That's what I always go for, and I might go get one tonight in celebration of Burger King being our sponsor. So appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Scotty, let's get the hell out of here. We
are
out.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you tune into our new releases every week on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out leatherbrains.com for all of your fantasy football needs. And remember, Brainiacs, a championship should be more than a fantasy.